Good morning, welcome family. Pastor Tim here, bringing you another follow-up from Sunday's message. We've been doing this for several weeks now. And just as a reminder, you can always go back and catch up on messages that you've missed at welcomewesleyan.com and look in our message archive. We've been in a series lately on families, habits for healthy families. I hope you've been enjoying that. Talked about several of them so far, like healthy families go together, the different ways that they do that. We talked about healthy families keeping first things first, mainly Jesus at the center of their relationships. And this last week, we talked about something that every family deals with, and that is conflict and the importance of how to handle that conflict and deal with it well. Our topic was fighting fair. That's really what we dubbed the message. That's what we talked about it. Again, you can go back and watch it online. Highly encourage you to do that. And just some of the things we talked about were, dealing with the problem while valuing the other person in the relationship. We also talked about considering the needs of the other person, where we figured out that some of us are like more pushers or attackers, and we have to deal with the problem like right now. And the other person is more withdrawer and needs time and space to think and process, and how we're to work together in that to find solutions for the problems that we're really dealing with in our families, between spouses, between parents and children, and the like. We also talked about keeping things in perspective. Like if it's not really that big a deal, then don't make a mountain out of a molehill. If it doesn't hold eternal perspective, asking the question, is it really that important? Do we need to make the deal out of it that we're currently making? And then last we talked about making sure we're praying for one another through the conflict, in the midst of the conflict, prior to the conflict, because it's just really hard to be upset or angry or find yourself against somebody that you're praying for. And really in relationships, we should be for one another. We're on the same team. It should be us against the issue, because we find better solutions together. So that's just a basic summary. But anyway, before we go too far today, I'd like for us to go back and look at verse 2 of Proverbs 13 again, which a lot of our discussion was on our language and how we talk to each other. And this verse again says, from the fruit of their lips, people enjoy good things. From the fruit of their lips, people enjoy good things, but the unfaithful have an appetite for violence. And that actually got me reminiscing about a course I took way back in college some years ago. It was a premarital counseling class, and just some statistics on what can contribute to couples staying together and what can contribute to relationships ending in divorce or people going separate ways. And there was a study that was done on couples that revealed the impact of words. And it said, it gave evidence for the study that generally for every 5 positive remarks or comments that couples made a day concerning one another, the way more likely that couple was to stay together in the long run, just from speaking about each other positively, from complimenting each other, those kinds of things. And then conversely, every time the couple, spoke negatively about one another, said something hurtful to one another, for every 5 times that happened, it had the opposite effect. The more likely that relationship was to end in separation or divorce. And, honestly, my goal today isn't to tackle all the ins and outs of families who go through conflicts and struggles that end in separation or divorce. But I would say the Bible is very clear that there really are only 2 grounds for divorce, and that is marital unfaithfulness, as we read in Matthew 5:32, and then abandonment, as we read in 1 Corinthians 7:15. And I would also say about that, by the way, having or being in an abusive environment or having an unsafe environment that focus or that causes someone to leave or forces someone to leave is really just the same as abandonment. So I don't want to go into all the ins and outs of that, but there really are only two biblical reasons for separation or divorce, and the Bible's clear on that. But going back to our text, we understand, given the example that I shared with you from my class, that words are powerful. Words can really make or break a relationship. And if we go back to our text, the way we speak to each other in our families, in our contexts and relationships, the tone that we use with one another really does have the power to bring about good things in our relationships. It's as simple as that. Just speaking positively with one another, just engaging with one another in a tone that's positive and encouraging. That has tremendous effects and brings life to relationships. And I would say this is a way to deal with conflict preemptively, by speaking positively of the other person, by being encouragement to the other person, so that when the conflict occurs, the trust is already there. And when trust is there in a conflict, when the other person genuinely knows how much we value them, and believes that we value them, it is just so much easier to work through the conflict, because you realize that the other person is for you and not against you. And so I want to encourage us today to just deal preemptively with our conflicts in our families, in our relationships, by practicing speaking positively of one another, by going out of our way to do that. Because sometimes, we can just take each other for granted. But let's not do that. Let's practice intentionally speaking well of one another. When we see the other person in the relationship, in our family, do something that's worthy of our complimenting them, or saying good job, or I really appreciate, or I like this about you, make sure we're taking the initiative to share and say those things. And that's going to go a long way in preserving and strengthening the relationship, so that when conflict does happen, there is trust, and we don't see the other person as the enemy. So take time today, like right now, when you finish this video, maybe message or text somebody in your family something that you appreciate them, something positive that you've seen in them. Just value them in that way. Do it just because. Make it a habit, and see how God strengthens your family.